Well, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Today is our first ever episode, and we're gonna give a lot of backstory on how we even got here. It's been a 12-year journey being together, Nick, and working as friends, and and now building and creating things together. It's just been epic, and so I'm very excited to go deeper into conversation with Nick. And the way that I've been approaching this is looking at it from the lens of what would you ask if you were in my shoes, because not everybody gets to be in this proximity for so long, or, after so many years, and be able to ask some of the questions that I'm asking. And I think I would assume that some of the questions I have for you are also questions that people would ask and wonder. It's not, because, let's face it, I've been with you in these places across the nations in your interview settings.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like, the questions just get recycled
right.
and so on. But how do you feel? Let me just ask with this. Let me start with this first. Like, 12-year journey, Nick, and now we're here. Did you ever imagine, like, what? Look where we are now.
It's really amazing. First and foremost, welcome to the podcast. And I just want to say we love you. God bless you. And we are all part of, making someone's life better in some way, shape, or form. It's all about love, hope, and faith. And as I've traveled around the world, I've had the privilege of going through so many countries and meeting so many people that have inspired us. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful for our mutual friends who connected us together 12 years ago. And working relationship for off and on 12 years. It's been absolutely awesome. And in fact, Gus was at one stage for several years a caregiver of mine to help me in my daily routines, traveling with me, seeing the good, funny, bad, and ugly, and all that in between. And it's such a deep friendship that we have, and we think of all the other incredible relationships we've made as well, friendships mm-hmm. with other caregivers and other team members. And throughout the podcast, we'll be introducing you to others as well as the Lord leads, to inspire more people. But it is surreal. I'll never forget that last day that we had that kind of goodbye at that point in California. I now live in Texas. And
my first goodbye?
Yeah, one of them. He couldn't stay away. He kept on coming back. It was good.
You kept wanting me back.
I kept on needing you back, and you graciously came back. And it's really difficult to find caregivers that, it's out of all the employees that we've had to engage in. This is not just a necessity for me and my life and mm-hmm. my wife and family and just functionality as a team member, but it's of one of highest regard and trustworthiness that needs to happen because you come right into the inner circle, and it's been fun, and you've inspired me, and many people don't understand what incredible relationship we do have, and I consider you as not just a brother in Christ, but armor bearer and prayer warrior, and there's a lot of spiritual warfare that people do not see, that we feel all the time, and it's been an incredible ride. And that goodbye, I don't know which one that was, but I think it was the first one. I was a little jealous of you in that you had your own plan in now being a dad. Mm-hmm. You have 4 kids. Mm-hmm. I have 4 kids. Yeah. And you seeing me from the beginning, for the last 20 years of moving from Australia to America, I would just go. Yeah. Before I got married, I was on the road sometimes 275 days a year. Been in that 84 countries, 3,500 speeches, and it's been an incredible ride, and just honored and thrilled that the Lord would give us this opportunity of stewardship to travel. But what I loved is that I felt like you had a balanced year ahead now, and you could plan now time management for your wife, time management for your kids, and doing the things that God's called you to do, mm-hmm. that doesn't make you travel away from family. And You don't know the pain and sacrifice of traveling away from family until you've done it.
Yeah.
And it's just a level of understanding that you just don't know unless you've been there. And in that, Gus has been my witness and a prayer warrior as we've all been praying, what does it look like for God to use Nick in a way that reaches the masses, multifaceted, something for everyone, to be inspired without planes being involved. And so we're here at 2025.
Yeah.
And I mean, COVID was an extreme pendulum swing. And just a little bit of background, 2018 was my most balanced year where I was able to speak motivationally, the bread and butter, ministry, cruising. Unfortunately, buried my father in 2017. We know he's in heaven. But 2018, I was able to actually switch off my phone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and still do what I felt God wanted me to do. COVID came, and the bread and butter in speaking went to zero.
Yeah.
COVID came. No one knew what was happening. I tried to pivot to do a podcast, kind of just some episodes for business leaders and CEOs to pivot during that.
And at that point, I wasn't behind the cameras. I was helping you produce it.
So Gus was my producer and helping me to think through, what do I do? How do we do this? How do we reach more people? And that was such a niche lane that it wasn't broad enough, and COVID left and things happened. I went into stocks in 2021, and that's how I made my money in 2021. And then jumping on, a speaking circuit now the last 4 years that, I know that the Lord doesn't want me on the road anymore. I'll still preach the gospel wherever we can through nickvministries.org. We're so excited to continue to do that. But everything else, motivationally, there's just so many creative and innovative ways to reach more people. And everyone's been telling me, do a podcast, do a podcast, do a podcast. I'm like, yeah, but it needs to be different. And so when I spoke to you and Carla and talking through this, I was really excited about it. And now being here today, it's really surreal. Very long answer to your first question. But that's the whole synopsis. So just to help set the tone and bit of background for everyone.
No, it's beautiful.
Thank you for joining me here, man.
Thanks for having
Hosting,
me.
driving it. It's going to be great.
It's great. And thanks for the words you said about me. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. And I'm so many things just crossed my mind, and I'm thinking about one in particular is like when people would ask me, so what do you do? And I'm like, I work with Nick Vujicic. And some people immediately knew. Some people are like, I showed them. They're like, oh my God, I know that guy. Like I saw him surfing, or I saw this and stuff like that. And they're like, what is it like? And my simplest answer is like, well, for the most part, I'm like basically his arms and his legs. Like so, some of the things that he would need to do or he would do on his own, I said I do those for him and I step in. But one of the things that like I always bring people to, because I'm trying to find out like in conversations what is the heart piece behind what's happening, and so I tell them that like it hit me immediately when I told my wife. I was like, hey, I'm working with Nick now. Like this is crazy. Like my first day officially was April 1st, 2013, and we went to Texas. And it hit me. I was like, I am one of two people in the whole world right now who has this job. And that was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, it was very like, it was like an honor. It was like a weight. It was like a stewardship as well. And I knew one thing immediately, that I was called to just be next to you and be your intercessor. That's one thing I remember. Like every single car drive, if you remember, there was days you would thank me for being silent in the car, because you'd be on phone calls and you'd have like these very deep, serious conversations or making big decisions, and I'm just in the car and I'm just praying. And I think you knew that, because you would lean over and be like, hey, thanks for praying. Like, and you knew that. And and granted, like I was in some of those difficult moments you've had in the hospital, when you went to the hospital.
I nearly died in 2016, y'all. And
you were losing blood at that moment, and so many things were happening. I was there with your dad as well. And know all your family. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about is like, all that stuff requires trust. Because I said to somebody, honestly, just recently, I was like, one is that you need to trust me with you. That's already one level of trust. And that's probably the easiest one, because it's me carrying you. It's me taking you. You trusting me that I'm going to get you there on time. And there's so many stories behind that as well. And like, there was one, I had a flip phone. Actually, that first trip to Texas, I don't know if you knew this. I had a flip phone, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get us to this place. I was like, so I memorized it off my computer.
Oh, wow.
I memorized where we were going off my computer, and I took us there by memory. And you're looking at me like, do you know where we're going? I was like, yep. And I got us there on time. Anyways, but so the first level of trust is right here. It's this, but then it just goes deeper than that, because on a practical level, I'm holding your wallet, I'm holding your phone, and then there are moments where I'm helping your wife, I'm with your kids. I'm like, those are way more extra levels of trust. Like, how do you put yourself in that place to, like, because, you know, there's the necessity, but you also have to break through those levels of trust of like, man, like, I'm trusting this guy with my family.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, there's so much to unpack here, but the word trust is just huge. I first, I guess, needed to trust from day one. Obviously, my mom and my dad. I was born without limbs. My brother with limbs, my sister with limbs. They called my brother Aaron because in the Bible, Aaron helped Moses. And so he became the default helper as well for me, and forward thinking for my parents. No one knew I was born this way, and the chances that their second child would have something like that is just astronomical. And so they had the courage and faith to have another child, and taking me home and loving on me and telling me, hey, we love you. No one knows what you can achieve until you try it. The doctors told me that I would never be able to walk. No one knew if I could sit up against the wall. Would I ever be mobile? Would I just be in the crib for the rest of my life? And so I think the love factor of the family is where trust was built. So I knew I had no limbs. I didn't think it was such a big deal until I went to school, and then I would get bullying and taunting and unwanted attention. And my parents, you know, helped me to understand, you know, kind of that's a different topic, but I could trust them to a point in what does my future look like. But could I always depend on them? Yes. Depend on their love? Yes. Depend on their grace, and they'd give me second chances when I fail, or just believing in me. I could always depend on my parents for that. And what I think we've developed is the culture for the people who are very close to me is you're like family to me. And so it's sad that there aren't so many trustworthy Christians out there, and there's so many layers of what that looks like in the world. But to have someone refer someone to be that position, that was how we got here. It was always generally someone who knew someone. And that's where, okay, well, if that person trusts that person to be this role, that's quite a lot to say. So we've definitely referenced and leveraged incredible circles of friends. And I really want to make mention of your pastor back then in California, Pastor Nets. Yo, love you. Peace. Dios te bendiga. You know, the church there in Chatsworth. Northridge. Houses of Light. And he's got a radio show and everything. And went there to the church and first met Victor, and he was my translator, and felt that we're gonna, you know, work together. Well, all of a sudden, you know, we're not only finding out how great the church is, but how well Pastor Nets discipled you all as leaders for the young people. I mean, we're talking about integrity, character, execution, making no excuses, doing everything in excellence, doing everything in a cadence. And so what people really would be very intrigued in is multiple caregivers came out of that church.
Yeah.
Multiple nannies.
And nannies, nannies.
Nannies came out of that church. I mean, my wife needed help with the kids. I mean, I couldn't help her. I offered a hand, it didn't help. But it was really stressful for me on the second child, Dayan. When Dayan was born, when you have two babies crying, and she can only attend to one, 10 to 1, and I can't help, it was really stressful. All those years of 2013 was our first child. Yep. Kyoshi was born in 2013. We got married in 2012. I
started a month and a half after he was born.
There you go. So 6 weeks into that. And then just life just radically changes. When you get married, it's a different thing. When you have a child, it's with 2 children, now 4. I mean, we're going from 2 to 4 with twins.
Now you're outnumbered.
It's crazy. And I'm the shortest one in the home already. And so, but that's the trust factor that we need internally. And really, I do want to say thank God for Pastor Nets and friends that we've had along the way who could refer people. So, there's just a certain cloth of tapestry of how you were brought up, but not necessarily brought up as much as how you've matured into who you become as a man or a woman, based on the mentorship around you. And I think us getting to know each other, it really felt like family. And I think that's the basis for it.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a really good answer. Thanks. That's the first time I hear some of those things, so that's good.
Yeah. And my kids, my kids remember Caregivers way back.
Yeah, and I only know Kiyoshi the most. All of them, he still remember me as like Tio Gus.
Tio Gus.
And so the other ones, your other kids are more closer to some of the other caregivers and stuff like that, or the nannies for sure.
Yeah.
And there's still communication there, and there's still
and they still ask. Yeah, they still ask, "How's this person? When are we going to see Tio Richard? When are we going to see Peter?"
Which, this is a heads up. We're gonna be having that episode in the weeks to come, where we're gonna sit down, you and 3 of your former caregivers. Yeah. And we're going to go back and forth on questions and funny stories, because there's so much there, but there's also so much depth there also of like what we gained, what you might have gained as well, just being and working with us. If there's anything, I'm sure there is.
It's going to be fun. A lot of good stories, a lot of funny stories, and things that built up our camaraderie. And I think we can get my wife as well to sit down and do an interview with us as well. I'd like to do that. That'll be fun.
That'd be great.
But I'm excited to see this, and have you all to have a peek inside a different dimension of my life, and just whatever I can inspire you to do or be and think about in your own life. So I'm excited.
That's great. So the answer to your question in short was like you approach it as family, like, hey, like it's me, it's my kids, it's my wife, it's my ministry, everything, my business. Is like I'm bringing them in as family, and so you have to get past, or not past, but you have to build that up in your heart. Like, all right, these are I'm bringing them in as family, because you're not just hiring an employee at that point,
right? And you just got to know. And it's a lot of prayer. It's a lot of people praying that in as well. I know a very successful business person who loves the Lord with all of his heart, who mentored me in how to reverse engineer, time manage, prioritization, decision-making processes in the entrepreneurial field, as well as being a great Bible study friend for many, many years, John Phelps. He shared with me some of his interview processes of his philosophy is, if I'm going to hire someone in a position in business, I'm going to have 7 meetings with them. And the interesting thing about in those 7 meetings is, tell me about your last employment that you had and previous employer. And there's just so much wisdom in the questions that you can bring in on an interview basis. But really, in this position, it's different. And there's obviously a lot of wisdom that I can glean from other incredible people in my life. But this is just, do you have peace?
Yeah.
Knowing, hey, we're going to move forward.
Right.
If for any reason it doesn't work out, we're going to let each other know.
Yeah.
For either way.
Yeah.
I mean, from your perspective too, like you can have expectations, but when you get into that roller coaster, I mean, it's nothing like you've expected, I'm sure. Yeah, you know, and for me, like my first caregiver was in my early 20s, and that was through my first employee, if you will, co-founding employee, Carla, back in Australia. And she knew in her church a guy, and she thought, well, what, you know, you need a caregiver full time, because at that time, talk about trust. Before I had a position of having a caregiver with me, I was quite independent at home. I would brush my own teeth and shower myself, dress myself up, let myself out of the house. I mean, I could do all of that at home. People don't know how independent I did become. And that was okay to a point, but tiresome as well. Like, it's a lot of work. And obviously, you need money to have someone and help that whole mode of operation happen. But yeah, no, it was funny because I'd have churches say, hey, can you come and speak? I'm like, yeah. They're like, so we need to look after you, right? I said, yeah. So what's interesting is going back, it's the uncomfortability that I had with myself of being vulnerable. And if I go back to the very beginning of a stranger helping me out, the first probably 14 years of schooling of my life, that doesn't make sense. Let me say it again. The first probably, I don't know, 10 years of school, so elementary school and even early high school, I'd actually not go to the restroom all day. I would be careful with how much water I drink, killed my kidneys because I didn't want to let a stranger have to take me to the restroom. Even though I had a teacher aide and they would feed me, I felt embarrassed. I wasn't comfortable in that vulnerability and transparency, if you will, of allowing a stranger to help me in that sensitive way. And so that began then with teacher aides. And then, you know, church is like, yeah, we'll have our staff, our youth will help you out. It was like, great. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I have no other choice, right?
Right.
And that was the perplexion of my parents trying to figure out, wait, my limbless son gets picked up by these strangers. They go for either a couple of days or an evening, and they've never met. They've only met on the phone. I mean, just think of that from a parent's perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why I thank God for my parents. It's like I would not have been able to navigate. They give all the credit to God, but that wisdom of letting their son become independent, try and find his vulnerability and balance of dependency outside of the family, to then trust completely these strangers with their son. Right.
And not to mention, you're their firstborn.
And I'm their firstborn. And so that's a whole new, when you're a parent, you know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Especially with the girls. I'm glad my first one wasn't a girl, I'll tell you. But you know, either way, it's just a whole new threshold of trust, and really ultimately trust in the Lord.
Right.
I mean, and it was so hard, Gus. I don't even know if you know this, but when I moved to Texas, we couldn't find anyone.
Yeah, I know that.
And we had to actually engage with a third-party agency.
Yep, I remember.
And people that don't know the Lord. I mean, talk about...
And you tried that like once or twice.
We tried it.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I can't, like I want people at this point, we know that there is so much spiritual warfare as well. Like, it's irresponsible for me to find somebody in this position who doesn't actually understand what an armor bearer is, who doesn't actually have a daily relationship with the Lord, who doesn't know the Bible, who doesn't know what that looks like, because we go into battle in spiritual warfare, and there's a lot of opposition that people don't know, and whether that's tangible or intangible. It happens all around and every day. And so we're in the business of kicking the devil's butt, you know, and knowing that we're nothing, but to know that we're called by God, empowered by God, led by God, given wisdom by God to do God's work. And that's a whole different episode, but I just wanted to say that it's discerning. It's discernment. And you've got knowledge, understanding, wisdom, and discernment. 4 different things. And believe it or not, I'm sure if you're married, you'll understand this. Most of the brothers in Christ that I have would concur with believing that the women in our marriage just are more discerning than us sometimes. And my wife could tell something down the track about people or something or a situation. And so I don't sit down necessarily the potential caregiver with my wife and sit down or anything like that, which actually wouldn't be a bad idea. But it's interesting we're talking about this topic because we're getting ready now to look for another one. Generally, caregivers last anywhere from 2 to 5 years. Peter was the longest one at 7 years, straight.
Straight, because I did 7.
You did 7 off and on, but he did straight. And generally, though, we get younger ones. Generally, they started to set a rule of, you know, they need to be married. There's just a different cadence. And, dealing with me and knowing that I'm married and I have a family dynamic. But I broke that rule even this year, and it was because the Lord confirmed that, you know, the current caregiver, Michael, was the one. And Michael moved from Oregon to Texas for this job. Dominic moved from Florida to Texas for this job. And, you know, we have a commitment and to fulfill the commitment in different seasons of their lives. Right. And so there's so many dynamics, and we've had great experiences along the way. So there's a lot there to unpack. And, you know, I feel especially for, you know, I really should be writing a book, especially to people affected with disabilities and even a book for caregivers, you know. And there's just so much we can unpack because so many considerations along the way and lessons as well. Definitely.
I mean, I'm assuming that most of the caregivers that you've had have approached it like this as well, but it's like a mutual of like peace on both ends, like you mentioned to some degree right now. And it's like, you know, because you mentioned not having or not wanting to ask somebody for help when you're in school, and now you have a caregiver, and then the first time I had to do that, it was like, oh, like we're really doing this. Like I'm taking you to the restroom, like something simple, right? And at that point, it's also like where am I with this? Like I have to have some sense of trust as well, because we're putting ourselves in these moments or environments, whether it be the restroom, traveling together, you know, and all these things, or meeting with people. And so I remember having those inner dialogues with myself, with the Lord, with my wife, and I'm like, okay, like I'm really going to do this. And so it's like, it was also like a mutual, like, okay, we're going to do this. Like, this is going to be a thing. And to your point, like you mentioned the conversations you had with John Phelps. Like, I remember I did a shadow day when Udi was on, and I was just watching him and everything. And I was like, okay, this is new. You know what I mean? Because the brand new first time. And I'm like, okay. And then the second one, it was just me by myself. And we went to Oaks Christian School. I drove you to Oaks Christian. that was.
Hello, Udi. Hello, Oaks.
And then on the way home from there, as we were getting past the 101, getting onto, I think was the 23.
Yep.
In Moore Park, you were on the phone. You were like texting away. You're 52 words per minute. And I remember you're looking at your phone, you're looking up, and then you just look over at me and you're like, "Hey, you're hired." Because that morning I had to do it all. I had to give you your coffee.
Yeah.
I had to get you showered, everything, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. And then sure enough, April 1st, the first official day as the caregiver, because that was just the day on my own, we traveled to Texas, which was honestly, if anybody was in my shoes, I don't know if you'd do the same, because I got ready and I was packing. I'm super excited. I think that was my first time to Texas, actually. But I was like, knowing you and your story, even before that, I was like, I'm going to bring my passport. You just don't know. You just don't know. And I brought my passport.
I love it.
I brought my passport. And that's,
did we need it that trip?
So, but that was one thing you've always enjoyed, is that I was always 2-3 steps ahead of you.
Yes.
And I was always ready. I'm like, I got to get this ready.
I also love the fact that you turned off your phone. He just turned off his phone. He's like, guys, guys, I'm off. And 100, no one's done that before, and still not. I really appreciate it.
So for all the caregivers listening, just take note of that one. And so sure enough, the day that you were supposed to start your first leg of the world tour in 2013,
oh gosh,
we were leaving Texas, and all of American Airlines systems shut down, and we were at the airport, and Udi was stuck in LA. He was supposed to meet you in Texas so you guys can fly to Budapest. And you're talking to the flight attendant. You're like, can I get any flights? There's nothing. And they're like, you can't go back. He can't come here. You have to. And then you turn your wheelchair over. You're like, bro.
We're going to Hungary?
No, please tell me you have your passport. And I was like, I do. He's like, and you're like, you take a deep breath, a deep sigh. I remember you're like, can you drop me off in Germany so my other caregiver can meet me there? And I was like, let me just call my wife. And I was like, please say yes. I was like, I'm going to take him. And the rest is history. That was it. And I remember, so I took you, and then Udi met you in Frankfurt. I stayed there for about a day and a half.
Sick.
To rest for the travel, and you started your world tour. But I remember you even told me, I don't know if anybody knows, this is something small, but you were like, I think on the airplane, you're like, man, I should have booked you for the world tour. Because you love traveling with me. But you didn't know, because I was new. So
wow.
But I did some of the South American.
Well, there were 26 countries that year.
Yeah. In total, I've been almost, I think, 28 with you in the whole 7 years.
Yeah.
But
and a shout out to the wives of the caregivers.
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So let me take it back now, if I could, because you mentioned like that there's the trust, there's the peace, and there's like those barriers, and there were probably more barriers in your younger age than they are now.
There's one more word with that.
Yeah.
Humility. There needs to be it was interesting. It's like, I think one of the caregivers one day said, I can't believe the level of humility that you have to allow me to be able to help you to do exactly this. And I'm like, well, number one, I have no choice. I need someone. And they're like, yeah, I understand that, but it's just, it's a different, deeper relationship of understandings, like, thank you for your help. Mm-hmm. Well, it's an honor to be with you. Well, it's an honor to be with you as well. It's just a deeper camaraderie.
Yeah, definitely.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That never goes away.
Yeah. And so you mentioned like there were things that you didn't know you had to navigate until you got into school, right? Because that was one of the things your mom fought for you to be in school in Australia, in public school. And then there's the visibility now. You're in front of other people now, and it's more on an everyday basis, right? And you're in school and you're having to navigate new things. And then, I can imagine that years of doing that built some resilience in you, built some just like a backbone, and then just some character within you as well, right? Because it was like you would say, ups and downs. It was those things built something in you. But now, fast forward, you have a global audience, a global platform, a global name, And I know that because I know this from you, is that you would never say like, yeah, that was on me, and you'd give glory to the Lord for that. But that global visibility now brings a different type of pressure, and brings a different type of added tensions, maybe, if you will, or wrestles. Like what have those been, and how have you actually gone past those, if you have?
Look, so many. I don't know which one you want to zoom in on, but there's been so many seasons in life where you hold the responsibility with fear and trembling of you can't over scientifically figure out the enormity of that, because you would just die in shock. And so the extreme is, well, I'm not going to leave. One extreme, which is extreme, which is very unhealthy, and you shouldn't be thinking this, that, hey, I'm not going to leave my front door unless I help every human being that I look into the eyes of. You just can't. You can't do that. And then the other extreme is, I can't help anyone. I can't even help myself. I'm a loser. Right. I have no purpose. Right. There is no purpose for today. So those extremes in knowing then what is the balance, and what is the calling, and what is the God-given purpose and mission for your life. And now it's not so much a vocation. Simply put, I'm looking forward to our film, No Limbs, No Limits, coming out in 2026. It's going to be in theaters in America. We're really, really excited about it. And we do feature Arnold, who is the high school janitor. I went to Runcorn State High School in Queensland, Australia, and I have many beautiful memories in high school. And one of them was Arnold looking at me after I was vice president of the school body. I did a speech. He watched. He heard me. He pulled me aside later that week, and he said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I thought so." He said, "God's going to use you to go all around the world and share your story." My reply was, "I have no story. I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "No, you do." And he did all that he can to convince me after I refused many times. I just thought it was a crazy idea that the janitor would organize my first speech that he asked, to just have a couple Christians meet on that Friday, lunch, and just have me share my story. And I reluctantly went, shared my story, and that was the beginnings of the seeds of, hey, maybe there is hope that other people can receive, to understand that me being suicidal, to then knowing that there is hope, to now understanding when you don't get a miracle, you can still be one. Well, then we all can be a miracle for someone. And that's the point I'm trying to make. It's not a vocation. The janitor, cleaning bathrooms and restrooms at a school, all of a sudden instills, by God's power, this amber, and God fanned the amber into a fire, a flame. And so for me, growing through those ups and downs, there's a lot. I now forgot your question. Why did I go that way? What was your question?
I'm trying to remember now as well.
Because it was about the ups and downs.
Oh,
and
the visibility, the tensions.
Oh, okay. How do I hold that? Right.
Yeah. The global
Got it.
visibility.
Yeah. So knowing that there is a calling, a greater purpose for my life, never in a million years. I mean, we're talking me at age 17, the internet barely came to Australia. I didn't even know what an email was. YouTube didn't exist. Social media was far away. But that whole thing of, if I can help one person, it's all about the one. You can't make everyone happy. There's always going to be haters out there, unfortunately. And, going back to, as an employer, in the ministry, we've had to hire and fire, and I was 26 years of age. Right. Seasons come and go, and decisions are decisions. But when you talk about your greater purpose of life, your calling, what makes you come alive, to me, it's all about when you have found hope, it's the greatest thing of all. Second to that is seeing someone else receive that hope. And hope is everything. So there's so many different reasons why people want a following or want an influence or have different motives.
Right. Mm-hmm.
For me, it all began in the humble beginnings of God, you gave me hope. Where I actually wasn't so extreme, but I did want to know that I made a difference in someone's life today. Where I would then start to get in rhythm. I have a wheelchair and I had a dog, our family dog, Seth,
Mm-hmm.
tied the leash to the wheelchair. And I sometimes didn't want to go home until I ran into a stranger and smiled at them, said hello, because I knew how fragile humans were at age 17.
Right. Right.
I knew how we could withhold information and how we could hide our pain. And for me, being suicidal, to know that no one knew I was suicidal, I hid that pretty well. What if I actually could help someone who is suicidal, who no one would imagine is suicidal, not give up?
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the value of my life? What's then the value of my life if I have hope temporarily, no arms, no legs, eternal hope, but what about for others? What's the value of not just my existence, but even what God allowed to happen as painful to build me up to who I am in resilience, to then just help one other person not give up? You can't put a price tag on
Right.
hope. You can't put a price tag on one person having the epiphany and the revelation that if a man without arms and legs didn't give up, then I'm not going to give up.
Right.
If God had a plan for a man without limbs to be his hands and feet to travel around the world, 84 countries, 11 million people in person in the stadiums, 890 million, 900 million people hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ by his 40s. I mean, that's just silly. That's just providentially divine. How to go that way? How do I hold myself accountable with friends,
Yeah.
with our board, with brothers in Christ, making sure that I remain humble, having people pray for me to keep focused on Jesus and the main thing remaining the main thing. It's a continual struggle that never gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
I think our whole theory of life is there's eventually a season of life where things become a little bit more easier, become a little bit more clearer, become a little bit more whatever. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And that's the beauty of growing stronger and stronger in faith, going from strength to strength, not because of your ability or your intellect or your skill or your track record or your influence. It's about your focus in on faith and who God is creating you to be. And stewards of everyday decisions become bigger and bigger and bigger with more responsibility, not just 19 million social media fans, but my wife. I'm taking her out on a date tonight. We ask each other 3 questions every month. What am I doing that you want me to stop doing?
Mm-hmm.
What am I not doing you want me to start doing? What am I doing well that you want me to keep on doing? We played Uno last night with my family.
Come on.
It's just how we bond. We got the Monopoly out, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I like Monopoly. I told my kids, that's why your daddy's so smart. He played Monopoly. You need to know this game. But, you know, that is just incredible. When I look at Kiyoshi, he's got 3 businesses already. He gives away 30% of his income. I didn't sit him down and
That's
tell
incredible.
him that, you know. He just sees that his daddy works hard and mommy and daddy, you know, they're generous and exposing them to homelessness here in the Dallas area. And every Christmas we give back to the homeless veterans. And a shout out to all the veterans, the military, retired, active, family, widowers. We love you very much and your family. God bless you. Thank you for your ministry for our country. I just want everyone to know, like, no matter what vocation you have, it's all about making a positive difference in someone's life. and making the world a better place one at a time. But the responsibility first and foremost is how I stand with him, God, my wife, then my kids, then everything else. And business is even after that.
Right.
Business is not before the influence. Influence, ministry, mission is prior to business. And if you seek God first and his kingdom, all these things shall be added. And I love that verse. And that's just how we've learned to mature. I mean, I'm not the same guy that I was a year ago. I'm not the same guy I was 5 years ago. And we all grow and mature and see that dependency on God and the maturity in our faith along the way.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for saying that. Honestly, I want to say this to you, because I'm like, it's one thing for me to hear some of the things you've said in the past, and one of those being when Kiyoshi was barely born. Now you had now an added point to your talks, and it was, I want to take my son here. I want to take my son here to experience life. I want to hear, and to hear that you're doing it. That's incredible. 12 years down the road.
We're going to Africa next year, man. It's going to be awesome. We took him around the world last year. Which entrepreneur do you know, by the grace of God, who can switch off his phone for 8 weeks straight and take his family around the world for 4 months?
I mean, the only calls you were making were with me and Carla.
But about this podcast. No, but the phone was off.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
No, it was.
And to be able to do it.
You're doing what you've wanted to do. And that's, I'm just saying, like, as your friend, I'm like, that's amazing.
Like, thanks for praying it in, and Carla and everyone.
I mean, because it's huge, like, as a dad, like, for a dad to keep his word is huge.
Yeah.
Forget Nick the businessman, forget Nick the author, the motivation. You as a dad behind closed doors, keeping his word. Yeah. And that's I mean, those little things behind closed doors that no one will ever know unless we're saying it in this type of setting is a reason why there's so much influence on the other end. And it's like, because, I mean, to that point, I think you would say this. So I'm curious, because I have felt this on my own. It's like, I've told people, like, okay, I've traveled to these many countries with Nick. I've gone to these places on my own. I've met these people, or I've been in these types of, like, Christian settings and all. Like, I've led worship in front of 50,000 people at one point, and it's and I've been in a prayer room when there's nobody, just me and the Lord. And all that to say is that there's only two places I'd rather be, is at home with my family and with the Lord. That's it.
Amen.
And I know that after 12 years of, like, that's all I've constantly heard from you. And it's like, I want to be home. Yeah. And the main thing I want to do is share the gospel, like share the word, the good news of Jesus to the world. So I'm just saying that, like, it's so exciting to be on this end over a decade later and like seeing it happen, like seeing the fruit of that and all that.
Praise God. And he's used it all. Like, if I didn't go and do what I've done, 3,500 speeches, I think it's 3.5 million miles in the air. So if you put all my flights back to back, I've been up in the air 24 hours, 7 months straight. I mean, that was, they say I run so fast I leave my legs behind when I'm running. But that freight train was so
and they're still
mighty.
Trying to catch up.
They're still trying to catch up. I got the shoes. I don't know how that happened. But the bottom line is, it's so important. And what was beautiful was in 2025, at the beginning of this year, I knew that it was really, really close. Can I say it this way? It's been a beautiful process of waiting, sitting, and letting the Lord ripen the conviction to the point where I know what I have to do and I know what I have to stop doing in my yearly rhythm, to the point of even telling my son earlier this year, hey, Daddy's going to retire from traveling, apart from very minute weeks. I mean, I'm getting on a plane like in a couple of weeks for Nick V Ministries. We're going to do 5 countries in Central America. We'll be meeting, God willing, 2 presidents. We'll be in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Belize. We'll do 5 countries in 5 days. And all the highlights are going to be at nickvministries.org. And that's the main thing. It's the Great Commission. And having the trust and stage with presidents. Yeah. Being asked to advise governments on bullying, suicide, mental health issues for the next generation, working with education systems, seeing even governments organize stadiums and national television broadcasts of the preaching of the gospel. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So we have so many stories and doors of favor that, again, is based on his calling, obedience, sacrifice. Right. But I told my son, I said, now, look, I think that this is the end of Daddy's traveling away from you. There's a speaking circuit for 42 days. It takes me away from the family. It's our bread and butter, financially, but I just know that the season's up. And I just want to be at home. And when they're at school, Daddy's in the studio. Daddy's working on Nick V Productions to do feature films, short films, animation, documentaries, starting a non-profit organization to get a lot of people giving $2 a day and reporting good philanthropic goodwill here in DFW and Mexico and Native American sovereign nations and Serbia. So much, when you're on the road, not only do you know of poverty out there, not only do you know of human trafficking out there, not only do you know what you know, and you can't unlearn what you now know. To really believe that the fingertips of influence, technology, innovative creativity, and media, it being backed, I really believe that this is going to be the greatest decade of all, the next 10 years of my life, to really try and move the needle to change the world. I really believe that there are a small amount of people on planet Earth who really believe we can change the world.
Yeah.
And when you've met death and you're on the bedside as they take their last breath, when you're in the hospitals where it's not even a viable hospital in a country, there is no medical stuff.
Right.
When you're in front of 650 sex slaves in India,
yep.
And you meet them and you interview them, those who've been rescued, rehab, and then you pay cash. You get how much cash do I have in my wallet? Let's set some free tonight. And paying the pimps of their debt. That's the world we live in, and I don't live in a bubble. And how do we help everyone without feeling overburdened, overwhelmed with the knowledge, understanding of how the world works? How do we, in our own walk, the quadrant of walking with God well, walking with your spouse well, walking with your family well, and then making a difference? That's it. That's all it is, the bottom line.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to, inspire everyone. And people, what most annoys me, which I understand, but I don't still get, I just want you to know I'm not much different than you. People have this perception of whatever on a pedestal. It's like, dude, the people around me, they know I'm just as human as everyone else. And I still have ups and downs. My last depression was 2021, went through counseling myself, and that's a great podcast one day to talk about the power of counseling and all that. And, we've had a lot of difficult years. I mean, 2019, 2020, 2021 brought me to this point where, I want you to know that I'm just like you. I cry like you. I have anxiety like you. And going through those ups and downs, and the high highs being higher and the lows being lower, that's the stretch of your character, your resilience, your maturity, and also then your faith, because you've seen, oh yeah, I did get through that. I didn't just go through that, I grow through that. I grew through that. And so that's what we hope you experience here.
That's great. That's awesome. Because what you said a few minutes ago, it's like the massive spectrum of like, I'm going to change the whole world or it's nothing, or I can't change anybody, not even myself. And you're saying that a good sweet spot in the middle is like, I'm going to take it day by day. I'm going to impact one person today. Yeah. And sometimes, granted, it's a group or it's an event or so on. And now you're also taking that impact in your family now, because you're impacting your kids. Because as you're talking, I correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like next year when you're in Africa, it's going to be a full circle moment for you.
Huge.
Because that was your first actual trip. You took like money that you saved up to be able to bless people in Africa, and now next year you're taking your whole family, and that's your first time ever going to Africa with your family.
Correct.
And it's like a full circle moment, like where you felt it started.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think I've heard you say that you're like, I went there and like, I knew I'm called to do this. I want to impact the world with the gospel of Jesus. And now you get to take your kids to experience the thing where you felt almost like it was almost like the international moment of like, hey, I'm going to do this on a global scale.
And that did happen in 2002. And that's when I bought the URL 7billionsouls.org. And I mean, the joy of, I mean, my parents always said, be thankful for what you have, and we pray before we eat. But my parents were homeless at one stage. They went to bed hungry. As a 6-year-old and a 15-year-old, they met in Australia, but they were in refugee camps fleeing in the 1960s, the communism regime of former Yugoslavia. And they would tell us stories. And so to be able to have had the childhood I had, where they didn't give me everything I wanted, when I wanted it, how I wanted it. If you give your kid everything they want, when they want, how they want it, you're ill preparing them for a world ahead of them that is not nice and is not like that. So that wisdom of allowing me to pick up a vacuum cleaner and earning my own cash to buy my own toys, same thing that I'm doing with my kids. They buy their own toys. And so there's so much there in the philosophy of life and making a difference. And I turned to my team in Nick V Ministries a couple months ago and I said, hey, if we can't change DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, we can't change the world. And so we're actually going down 9 layers of qualitative information in DFW, because it really doesn't make sense. For instance, nationwide, we have 500,000 churches. And there's about 500,000 children who are in the foster care list or adoption list waiting for a home. I don't understand that. I'm toying with the idea of writing a book called The 40 Reasons Why They Won't Become a Christian. And we're basically the reason. And there's 40 reasons why. And things that we as a church really are a little delusional and fat and blind. And we really have lost all goodwill. And it's more of church growth at the sacrifice of discipleship growth. If you're a real disciple, you also make a difference. And so you're not saved by the works, but the fruit should show. And so Texas, great state of Texas, 7th largest economy in the world, and we have 30,000 homeless veterans in Dallas, like 45 minutes from this office. I don't understand that. We really need to wake up, repent, and actually do listen to the music, face the music, and then do something different. And so, the dream, I don't mind sharing it here, but the dream is to start a nonprofit where we have 250,000 people giving $2 a day. Can you imagine what $3.5 million given 100% of it to reporting right here, right now to help? I mean, the stats are incredible. This is more of my heart, my passion to give, where, there's a single mother, there's a single father who has a car, a job, 2 kids, and they can't afford anything more than their paycheck from paycheck to paycheck, and their car breaks down. It's a $300 bill. They can't pay it. They can't fix the car. If you can't fix the car, you can't take the kids to school. You can't go to work. If you can't go to work and you can't take the kids to school, guess who comes knocking at your door? The CPS, the Child Protection Services. Why? So we come from Vujicic bloodline, where we always, I took my family to Serbia to show where my grandfather was born, the very house. And it's humble beginnings. I mean, there's dirt floor. It's exactly the same as,
you were looking to purchase it, right? You're trying to.
At one stage.
Yeah.
But the Vujicic clan still has the right neighbor and the left neighbor. So it's 3 Vujicic houses, neighbor. And one went to Argentina, and one went to California, and one went to Australia. Can you imagine? And so he's just like, wow, the stories of the history.
Right.
So going back to Serbia and going to our Japanese roots, my wife is half Japanese, and spending 2 months in Mexico and immersing them in the culture. My wife's Mexican. Taking them to Australia, 2026, God willing, to meet all my family. Kiyoshi came with me on a trip, but I want to take the whole family and spend 2 months there. And just, it is full circles. I think it's a decade now of full circles, and probably the greatest decade ahead. And no matter what comes, I mean, I'm still very pessimistic about the future, the viability of what we think is a stable economy today and stable society today, and whether it's political or economical or social or spiritual and church-wise, I'm just, lastly, I just want to say I'm burdened for America to repent. And so we're doing a lot of different things where we can, and helping the church be the church, if you will, and equipping them with resources and discipleship and programs for student ministry in public schools. And I think many people don't understand the opportunities out there. And we just want to help, just bit by bit, help you make a difference in someone's life. That's it. And we love you.
Right. That's so good.
That's it.
Let me give you this point before I give you my last question. Is like, I recently heard a testimony, a story of a church, and I'm saying this to say, like, it's possible what you're going after right here in DFW is that the church took it upon themselves to take responsibility for every single kid in the foster system. And now there is a waiting list of families for kids. So now there's more families waiting than there are children, because one church decided this is not going to be an issue in our county or in our state. Yeah. And so, I mean, having heard that, I'm like, man, I think I could only think of one place that was doing that, but I'm just saying, like, I'm praying for you, definitely. I think it's possible. I think, Texas is known for everything bigger. And so,
I never thought of it that way, yeah.
So the churches can do it. The churches
I
should
think we
do
can.
it.
We should do it.
And, I mean, it's big enough to take on the whole foster system of the U.S., not just Dallas-Fort Worth area.
It is. And lastly, it's actually the sweet spot of the engaged, wanting to be engaged churches are actually the smaller churches where it's only 35 to 100 people each. It's not the mega. There's some mega churches doing great jobs, but it's all of us putting our effort together.
Yeah. So all right, let me ask you this last question then, because I think this one's more like a we're gonna hone it in on one heart piece now of your heart, like just on your mind. It's like so you've been on so many stages, you've written several books, right? And many people have had you on interviews, and so much, like, there's a plethora of content out there.
A plethora.
But like, I'm curious. It's like, what is one thought in your mind that has just impacted you and changed you, that has not made it to the stage, has not made it on a book, that you can think of right now, if there's any? Like, what's one thing that you would say, like, actually, this is not on a book yet, but this thing has been on my heart to, like, just to say it out there?
I'm gonna say it. It just happened yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, on a Zoom call with an incredible friend, Artur Pawlowski. And he said something, if you don't know who he is, talk about a humble, courageous, and obedient man. God bless him and his family and everyone in Canada. They're going through a lot. And so there's just a lot of camaraderie in persecution that we affiliate ourselves with in different areas. And he said yesterday something that was so beautiful that gave me the courage that I need. And he said, when I know that I gather with my church and someone says, no, well, you can't have communion once a month or this or that. He's like, well, I'm going to do it every week. It's like when the devil says, no, you can't do that. You can't dream big. Well, that gives me the umph to even dream bigger. And I've been saying this for years, dream bigger, 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 bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at this point in 2025, I've needed to dream bigger and actually, sorry. It's the best song ever. I've said it so many years where we need to dream bigger, And it's like I can dream big and think of, for context's sake, what are we doing when Nick's not on the road? Where is the next step? What is it? Is it this? Is it the podcast? Is it the documentary? Are we doing a regulated A+ crowdfund raise to do something giant and in productions underwrite all the documentaries and feature films and all that? And it's like it's not just will you survive, it's not even will you thrive, but will you do everything that you can to get to everything that's meant for you quickest? That pace, that timeline is everything. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to swim the Olympic pool, but I'm first going to learn doggy paddle.
Right.
No, well, there's a time where you jump in and you can learn different things, but you got to go as quickly as you can. I'm not talking about the spiritual thing of, oh, we're living in the end of days. That's not the context that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a vigor. I'm talking about a courage. I'm talking about something way bigger than my imagination and thinking where, wow, maybe we should go all in now. And I'm at an all in now moment. I really am. That's maybe the best way I could table it. And it's like all in halfway and then eventually 2, 5, 10 years. No, like let's go. Tomorrow's not promised.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not stupid. But we have everything that, we look at all the things that God's given us and we're responsible for it. Going back to the very first thing, it's the stewardship of now, today. Why wouldn't we go all in? And so this is the time where I feel in my life I've helped build other people's stages, helped people build their podcasts, their books, their reputation, their curriculums, their programs. Now it's all about what are the main things to keep as the main thing that really drives the biggest change for me in seeing impact in the world. And that's the most exciting thing. And it's not a comfortable thing to go all in. I'm telling you, when God calls you to go all in, it's generally never convenient. It's not convenient timing. It's not convenient season. It's not convenient nothing. If it was easy, it wouldn't be miraculous. It wouldn't be significant. Anything significant costs you something. Anything significant for a needle to move takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of lift, that we would say. But that's where I'm at, I guess. Now when I feel like I have trimmed down the branches and focused like never before, we're going all in on the things that matter most and that I'm called to. And we're going quicker than ever, bigger than ever, because the opposition doesn't like it at all. And that now only drives me, I now reframe it to saying, oh yeah, no, let's go bigger, much bigger. Let's go twice as big now. You hit some opposition. Okay, ready guys? Let's go twice as big. That's exactly how I feel. We're going twice as big as we could ever have dreamed of.
Using the resistance and saying, hey, we're in the right direction.
Exactly. It's like, okay, now we know we're standing in the right position. Okay, now let's just double down. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is, and I'm excited to go along for the journey and to be a part of it.
You are a part of it, and thank you very much. I'm very honored to partner with you and see where God leads us all. It's going to be fun to kind of log a journal journey of the what's coming. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And on one of our next episodes, I'm going to allow Nick the opportunity to ask me some questions as well, because I think, I wouldn't want him to miss out on some of the the stories or things on my heart relating to our friendship or just in regards to where we are in the world as well. But I'm going to encourage you to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us right here and join us along for the journey for more conversations as we go deeper into personal things and just things that are happening around in our world and our society. And so we will see you on the next one.